Thank you for joining us today, finally, on Facebook somewhere. Facebook is still having some challenges with their new software, and Zoom is not interfacing with Facebook Business very well. So I can't publish live. Anyway, so here I am on my personal page with my good friend, Jennifer Flye. Hey, Jennifer.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us today for Optimistic Opportunities.
You're welcome. I'm super excited.
Jennifer is a now 5-year friend. She has just had her 5-year anniversary at the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants. Those that you know me, I worked there for just over 5 years. And Jennifer came in, I think about the last 2 years that I was there as the advertising sales support person. And she's amazing. And she can support me, so she can do anything. Anything. And she was always optimistic with me, which was amazing because I was always like running around like a chicken with the head cut off trying to do things. She was like, "It's okay, Carl, you can do this. It'll be fine." So she's got some great tools to share with us today.
I hope so.
Yeah, and we're gonna have fun with this today. So I don't know. I just kind of want to mix this up a little bit today because we know each other so well. How are you keeping in touch with people? Like, what are you doing to do that? What's working for you?
So at the beginning of quarantine, I noticed how I was starting to feel down and disassociated with people. I'm a super people person. The biggest thing I enjoy about work is being around coworkers, even people that aren't on my team, the small talk in the kitchen or getting coffee or whatever. And I was really, really missing that. So from a work standpoint, I'd expressed this with my supervisor and my team members. And what we did was Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, at the end of the workday, at like around 4:45, for about 15 minutes, we call it daily transition. There's no work talk. It's all, how was your weekend? What are you cooking for dinner? What's going on in your life? And one of the really positive things that I've taken away from that and being able to stay connected with colleagues is there are 2 of my colleagues that are out of New York. So in the normal work environment, I don't have those daily conversations with them. We speak, we interact, but it's not like, it is now. And I've learned so much more about them on a personal level as they have with me by doing just these small, group calls just to still interact, so it's not all business all the time, it's still creating those relationships and having those bonds and helping, build your team. On a personal level, again, once quarantine started, I was finding it challenging that, I couldn't see my family and, be near them. So what we did was me, my sister, my mom, and my mom's best friend, which is also my sister's godmother, we scheduled a Zoom call for every Monday at 5:30, and we would call it Cocktails with the Girls. And we'd all bring our cocktail of choice or, water, whatever you wanted to bring. And we would just for an hour sit and chat and talk about life and what was going on and the challenges that we were facing or how we were feeling or the positive things. So it's really helped us stay connected. And now that things are a little less restricted, I know that some of my friends and I, we've done, when it was a little warmer, would do like cookouts and stuff, but where we could still social distance, but still interact. I know one of my girlfriends, she's really close with her grandmother, and she was really concerned because she's a nurse. I can't see my grandmother every weekend like I normally do and help her and these things because she didn't want to put her at risk. And I told her, I said, you know what, this is what you do. I said, you tell Granny you're coming on Saturday, you have her cook the meal like she normally would, and you all sit outside. She puts the food on the porch, you each go up individually, and you can still sit around and talk and connect and be with each other. It's not the same, I know, as, being able to hug and all that, but you're still getting to connect with the people that you care about. So you have to get creative. You have to find ways around, the challenges of social distancing and, the people that aren't necessarily in your pod if you've created one, but so that you can still have those interactions because it's really important. So those are the ways I've stayed connected.
That's so cool. So thanks for that. Um, I don't know if you saw behind me what I've got on the little table. Do you see that little peace lily back there?
Uh-huh.
So I put that little peace lily there and just in honor of Jennifer, because when I would travel around the country so much, she would keep my little peace lily watered. So there
Yes.
it is, right there. It's
Still going
there.
strong.
So I stuck it over there. I changed the set for today with a little
Yeah,
pumpkin thing there too.
exactly.
I just had to share. That was kind of fun. So how are you addressing struggles?
Naturally, I'm a very positive person, but I still have struggles. I still have challenges. One of my approaches to to struggles is you're allowed to have a 24-hour pity party. You know, we all feel down at times. We all feel, you know, challenges or, you know, just not super hype about the day or motivated. And that's okay. And you have to give yourself, you know, permission to acknowledge that and to take the time. So I've raised my kids this way. I try to pass this along to my friends that a method that I've lived by is okay, today just isn't a good day. And that's okay. And I can cry and I can be upset and I can be down and I can lay on the couch and watch TV all day if I want. But tomorrow we need to pick ourselves up and come up with a plan on how to fix it. Even if it's a small, you know, plan, a small step. But allow yourself to have, you know, to feel those feelings and feel down, but know that you can't just give up. You got to keep pushing forward. So you have to come up with a plan. Another thing that I've done is I met a friend about 5 or 6 years ago, and he was a super positive person, like super positive. Like anytime I say, "How are you doing?" It was always magnificent, phenomenal. It was never like good, great. It was something. It was always sort of extra, and I thought he can't be feeling like that all the time. That's just not realistic. And I had that conversation with him one time, and I asked him about that, and he said, "You know what? You're right. I do have bad days, and I do feel certain ways." He said, "But if I say that I'm magnificent or I say that I'm phenomenal, it's all about a mindset. And you start to believe that and think that. So what I try to do is be positive. I try to see, first of all, things could always be worse, even if you look at it from a perspective of, something small. So I always try to find the positive. If it's, oh, it's sunny today, or I have a roof over my head. I can feed my, children and family. And there are many people that can't do that,
And
or
and you can
what
feed
did
your
you say?
cats too.
And I can feed my cats. That is very important. That is very, very important. um, so you have to really, really try sometimes. And it's easier sometimes than it is others, but to find a positive in a negative, because there's always something, even if it's tiny. And again, talk positive to yourself, you know, and eventually your mindset will start to change. And it's not easy at first to get to that place, but once you practice that, it does get easier, down the road.
We did that when we were working together.
Mm-hmm.
Like something challenging would have happened or something, and I would like pop up like a groundhog because we literally were in cubes, and
Yeah.
Jennifer faced me and I faced her, but we had a wall cube between us. And I'd pop up.
Yeah.
She'd be like, what's he doing? What's going
I'll
on?
be like, yes, Carl.
Something's going on. And I was just let it out. And Jennifer would like say something positive or whatever and redirect me.
Or you'd roll around.
Then I'd sit back down.
Or you'd roll around. Remember, you would roll around in your chair to me.
I'd take my chair and roll around and be like, Jennifer, you have a minute?
Yeah. I'd be like, yes, what's up?
or I'd IM you and say, can I roll around and see you?
Exactly.
And talk and and we still did that even after we stopped working together. We would call each other and lift each other up and support each other and be cheerleaders to each other. And I think that's also, that's, I think, the number one way that I can live through my struggles is knowing that I've got certain people in my life that I can call and be like, okay, blah, 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 blah. And they know their role in my life is to say, be the cheerleader, for me.
And I think it is important. I think it's important to have those people where you can be transparent and you can be yourself and don't have a fear of judgment or whatever. because a lot of us don't have that, or or it was very limited. So I'm with you. I think it's important to know that you have people in your corner, and um, so
And
I
you're a very
appreciate that as
dear,
well too.
dear, 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 dear friend of mine. And you know
Yes,
me
I
really
would agree.
well. It's kind of scary. And but I think we know each other so well that we can be that role with each other.
Mhm.
It's just,
Exactly.
it's sort of strange. I mean, I called up somebody the other day, which was really timely, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going on." And out of my mouth came blah, 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 because I knew her so well. And I knew that she
Mhm.
needed to hear that.
Yeah.
And then I hung up the phone. And then, like, several days
Yeah.
later, I got a text from this person. "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you knew to call me then. And you said what you said." I was like, "I know, connected."
Yeah.
It's, just, I think, nurturing and keeping those people, in your life connected, even if maybe um, you might not see each other as often as you used to, is a great thing. And Jennifer, you froze. There she
Sorry
is.
about
No problem. I was just
that.
signing out, but I'll just go ahead and keep it going for a little bit, because now that we've been in this for a while, what have you learned?
Uh, well, again, one of the biggest things I've learned is how important it is for us to stay connected.
Yeah.
Um, you know, any way we can, and how to be more creative. I'm a pretty good problem solver, but I've realized how important that is, especially during these times, just with anything, for us to get creative, because otherwise, um, you know, it's just challenging. Another thing is that to slow down, and
Oh my
you know,
God, okay, I'm going to stop you. So when you said that, y'all, I just have to tell you that I would be up there working, and Jennifer was the sales assistant helping us, and I'll be just like going like 10 miles an hour, like faster than I go now. And Jennifer would just like, slow down, slow down. So I'm sorry, I just,
yeah,
had the laughter just erupt from me, because that was normally the way that she helped me, was she would just say,
yep.
down.
Yeah, and you have to. But
Go
the thing
on.
that I realized is like, even with saying that, I don't know if you've experienced this, Carl, but it's like, it's the little things that I never noticed before. I find myself Googling, do squirrels live in groups? When they're chasing each other, are they playing, or are they attacking each other? Really what creates waves in the ocean, but we don't have them in the river? What was the other thing? Oh, when I was at the beach last week, I'm over there Googling, why do birds stand on one leg? Like, what is the benefit of that? Like, it's the little things that I never really noticed, or I mean, you see them, but I didn't process them that way to really want to know why, or be interested in that. Or I'd see a bird outside and be like, what kind of bird is that? And start looking it up. So that's the thing that I've learned is, slow down, really look around. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, nature related, but those are the things I've noticed that I didn't notice before. um, so those are the things that I would say I've learned the most of.
So one thing that I've learned about myself during this reset is Alexa's trying to talk to me. I don't know what she's doing. I think she's telling me some notification. Thanks, Alexa. Alexa, off. This is not an Amazon commercial. So they have not sponsored me today. If you'd
I
like to,
laugh.
tell me.
Yeah, I laugh because it's like whenever my mom's constantly yelling at her, Alexa off, Alexa off, and I'm just like, okay, whatever.
It's very funny. Alexa's over there in the kitchen. So this is so. So one thing I learned about myself early on was very noticeable, was my anxiety level went down, and all of this, like, sort of what I call, like, sort of this movement in my gut, like churning in my gut,
Yeah.
or my esophagus like tightening up. That's how I hold my stress. And yes, I was stressed out about, like, was I going to be able to earn a paycheck? Was my business to be able to be afloat still? Could I survive this pandemic? So I spent lots of time filling out applications for PPP loans and all this kind of stuff, and unemployment, instead of paying attention to my business, and nothing came through. So I just decided I better get to work, because I had no other options.
Yeah.
And so I got to work and turned it around. Thank goodness. So I'm very grateful for that. But it was just, it was really interesting how like, yeah, there was that nervous energy and everything else about filling out all that stuff and about my company. But personally, because I wasn't running all over the place anymore, which, I guess I thought I liked to do that, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't, you
Yeah.
know, because I stopped doing all of that, running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I really grounded myself even more. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And you saw me ground myself before when I was at AICPA
Yeah.
and stumble upon that Shivananda ashram and learn how
Yep.
to meditate and do yoga and stuff. And you were there when I did that. And that was kind of like, what happened to Carl? He's so grounded
Yeah.
now. What's wrong with him? So like this was that next like stage. And I was like, wow. So I hear a lot from people about, do they want to go back to life the way it was? And are we just going to get back into those habits? Are those habits really good habits? Are they life-giving and help us?
I think for me, and it's interesting to hear that you say that your anxiety went down, and it's interesting that how we all respond to things differently. Because I'll say for me personally, my anxiety has gone up, and I think the reason for that for me is that again, it all comes back to personal interaction with other people. And to be honest with you, so if I had something going on in my personal life, going to work and getting away from my home and my environment was a way to get away from it at least for the day, and like kind of push it to the side. So I think for me, those things are now amplified because I'm in my house 24/7, except to go to the store. So I think for me, it's created more anxiety because there is no, getaway. There is no, being able to separate um, those from each other, or
Right.
it's more challenging to separate, work and home. But it is so important to do that. And I just think for me, it's just really important that we all talk about how we're feeling and be open about it. And so that way we can really connect with other people and see, we're not alone in this, and everybody does respond to this differently. For some people, I'm sure it has been a positive, or I guess as much as it could be, or there have been positive things. And I'm not saying that, mine's all been negative. Of course, I mean, I'm able to be home with my kids or spend more time with them. I'm able to cook dinner more often because I'm not getting home at 6:30, and having to rush. So, those things have been great, but there are other challenges I think that we face. And,
Yeah.
and to your question of if we'll go back, I don't know that we'll ever go back to the way things really were. I think we'll get back to there some way, but if we ever get back to what it was before, I think it's going to be a while because I think people are going to be anxious about, being around other people and whatnot, for an extended period of time, even once the situation hopefully slows down or whatnot.
So I think it's really just that challenge to think about, what have I learned about myself? What has
Mhm.
gotten better in my life during this time?
Yep.
What things do I want to continue as things open up so I can better take care of myself?
Yeah. I agree. And
What
I
are
think,
those different things? So it's not like I'm asking you to answer those questions now, but like for
no, I
everybody
think,
that's watching, it's like that might be a really interesting exercise for us all to go through. And maybe, I'm a big component on doing a notepad on my iPhone. I do lots of notepads and, keeping an ongoing list of like, what are those things that are really good right now in your life that weren't there before this happened?
yeah. And I think it was like you and I were talking before we jumped on here, about how I'd gone to the beach last week and I'd never really taken the time, to just get away, and how I was like, you know what, the thing that I am going to do next year is I'm going to put that on my schedule early, that I'm going to take that week and just really focus on me and my family. And I haven't done that before, but I think I felt given this, being working from home now and things, I felt like it was easier for me and I didn't feel as much guilt doing it as I would have before, you know?
Right.
So like you said, I agree. There are some positive things, and that I think we've all learned, or whatnot. But it's really focusing on those and trying not to focus on the way our lives have changed in certain ways. It's looking at the positive.
And it's that balance also. It's not ignoring the negative. It's giving yourself that time to process what's happening that's hard, so it does process and you can move on from it however best you can. And then, because if you ignore that hard stuff, it's just going to keep on coming back.
Exactly. When you least expect it too, probably.
What?
I said when you least expect it too, probably.
Yeah. Definitely pay attention to it. It'll keep it away.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, Jennifer, this is so delightful. It's so good to see your bright, shiny, smiley face. We've talked on the phone a bunch since this has started, and over the past 3 years since we haven't been working together, 3.5 years.
Yeah, I miss our lunches. I do miss our lunches.
I miss our
So
lunches.
it was good to see.
We got to do that.
Yeah.
And well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
It was so fun. Good to see you.
Good to
Keep
see
on
you
keeping
too.
on.
Same.
So the one thing I always say to everybody at the end of this, and I'll say it again, I said it before I knew that Jennifer was going to be able to come back, and I'm so glad you did, is just please remember to help one another and be there for each other.